For the last 4 decades, we've been trying to stuff as much horsepower in our Fox body Mustangs as we could get. And like we talk here on the channel, there's a lot of mods that we kind of overlook. Regardless if you're building a street strip car, a heavily modified car, or just simply upgrading your stock Mustang, some of these mods that I'm gonna show you today that we got from Team Z here on the channel are gonna apply to you. I got some parts in the back that we've been waiting to install. I got some parts in a box as we're gonna make one more step to getting our car off the jack stands. Let's get into it.
Listen up, just a good old boy, never meaning no harm. Beats all you ever saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born.
Man, I'm getting pretty excited about this coupe build. I know it's still a long way to go. We're gonna get there when we get there. Main goal is in the next few weeks is to get the car actually on 4 wheels and get it moving around so I can get the white car back up on the lift and start getting its front suspension taken out. If you remember the other week, we took our 35 spline axle apart and we took it over to McBride Racing where they actually updated and upgraded 2 axles. Here's a couple pictures, a little bit of sneak peek of what we got going on. The one axle that came out of my white car was extremely bent, and it actually took about 7 hours to get it right and get it welded up and straight. Cousin Paul and I don't have this axle in here very tight, so we'll be able to take it down in a couple minutes. And then I'm gonna show you some of the Team Z stuff real quick. Just an update, one step closer to getting our car off the jack stands. You guys motivate me here on the channel. I hope I motivate you. Let me go grab the parts and show you what we got going on. I think this is the box here that we're gonna be looking at. We're not going to be installing the Team Z upper and lower control arms today, as we're going to be doing an axle video this weekend where we go pick the stuff up from McBride Racing. So we'll end up actually going over these another time. So this is one of the mods that we're going to be messing with today. This is a Flaming River rack. This is something that we've had on the white car for a number of years. The nice thing is it came with some offset rack bushings. Now I made a video about this with my black car when we were doing a 351 swap. And it's definitely something you want to consider if you're going to be changing your rack. Even if you're doing your stock rack, change these bushings. You get a little more clearance of the oil pan, especially with certain types of builds, like turbo builds, stuff like that, to where, you know, you got a little more room on the rack. Another one of the parts that I didn't even know I had was the actual knuckle. Now these knuckles have to be drilled. We did that here in a white car, and we're gonna leave that knuckle on this steering wheel because it's gonna be kind of specific for that type of build. Here's a good visual of what these bushings do. You can see how much of a difference it is just by, you know, the offset here. It's probably a good 1/4 inch or so. You're doing a 351 swap, hell, any sort of motor, put these bushings in, get them in the rack and give you a little extra room. Now we were just talking about the rag joint. This is the stock rag joint, and you can see how kind of bad design this is, and this thing will put you into a wall or into a ditch in a hurry. And these things are definitely aged over time. Team Z actually sent us camber plates. Now these are 9093 specific camber plates. We also got the Team Z bump steer. Now this bump steer will help us with the spindles. I have a bump steer installed already on my white car here, and we're not going to actually take any of the bump steer or any of the suspension out as far as like the rack and stuff. I'm gonna leave the rack and the knuckle and the bump steer alone. That way when we do one day go to put this car back together or whatever, I probably don't even have to mess with the suspension. I just got to put the spindles on and be done with it. But that's what we're going to be installing today. We're going to get these camber plates out. We're going to just basically just mock these up. Then we're going to go to the back, take the axle out and get it ready for the next video. Not a fancy video, guys, but it's an update. I'm relating as much as I can, not only to a street car, to a track car, but to your stock Mustang, as these upgrades will help you along the way in your transition to modifying your Mustang. Let's be honest, horsepower is not all that difficult to make nowadays, and these cars are like super outdated, so this stuff needs to be replaced.
Once those little wheels turn, that thing rolls pretty good.
The cambers?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you got yourself a garage and you get a disabled car or something on 4, these little things were like the best, some of the best things that we bought. That way you don't have to kind of beat yourself up. I mean, it moved pretty good, but had to get it out of the way. Well, that's what you use. So we got this K-member squared up the other week or whatever, when we were doing content on the coupe last time. Pretty easy peasy, to be honest. Well, usually we like to use the factory bolts, but these are too long for this K-member. So Team Z did offer us some hardware in the box. So pretty nice little pieces here. nice and set up. We'll go ahead and get this locked down and move on to the next mod. So this is where the old stock rag joint would be normally, and this is the one I would keep telling you guys to replace because it's just not safe anymore. Even in a Fox body that's stock, it'll make your steering much better. There's a lot of play in that, and there's a lot of danger in that, and I talked about that a number of times in the channel, and I'm not going to stop talking about it because this almost put me into a wall about a year ago. We got this all locked in. It went in pretty nice. Got a little bit of a, you can see now that, you know, the offset bushings had brought the rack down. We're going to go ahead and install the bump steer here. That way when we get the front struts off the white car, I mean, it's going to need a line, so we're going to get it as close as we can. The strut that we got coming out of the white car, the reason why we need camber plates right now is the whole assembly is going to go right into the car. Like, we don't have to take anything apart. And that's the nice thing about doing that transition with the white car, is we're just going to literally not have to set any of that front spring suspension up. If anything, we make some adjustments later, but we got to get it on the ground first and get a driveline in it. Not a whole lot to this. All this is basically an adjustable tie rod. And Team Z offers these at their website. You got one end that goes into the rack, and then the other end is the actual Heim joint. Put them up as much as we can, and it'll be ready for when the spindle comes down and we lock it into this ball joint. We'll be able to kind of make an adjustment. Just we can kind of eye it in, you know what I mean? And you can do this on your normal suspension too at home when you're changing this stuff. You could eye it in, but it's always best to, you know, go get it aligned. So pretty excited that we're getting some of these parts hung on this car. They're not real big parts yet, but you know, one part at a time, we'll get this thing done. These bump steers come with a number of adjustment shims, and you can do what you want actually to happen here is you want your rack to be as parallel to the ground and the control arms as possible, and when you're making adjustments, and that's something they talk about on the directions. That's the nice thing about bump steer. You can put this stuff on your factory Mustang, and you know, rack bushings, changing your rack. Usually at this age they're all leaking anyways, so putting an aftermarket rack in there or a newer rack and putting some adjustable tie rod ends will keep the suspension nice and tight, just like that knuckle I was telling you about. Because we're going to have to take these old strut coilovers and those old spindles that we got, and each side we're going to have to disconnect while it's on the ground on rollers here, and we can go ahead and just slide it right in here once we get the camber plates in. So the caster camber plates are specific for year. Like this is a 9093, like I mentioned earlier. And this is the Team Z caster camber plates. And again, we're gonna have to keep it kind of loose because when we do slide the strut in there, we gotta make a number of adjustments to make sure that these things are gonna fit. And this brace goes underneath here, and we're gonna go ahead and install them here. They're not all that expensive, nice Team Z pieces. We're gonna leave this zip tie on here for when the strut comes through, we can lock it down. You don't have to be a race car to get stuff like this, but it's kind of nice when you're doing suspension, like when you're lowering your car and just getting that stance that you always want. These are a must for sure. Okay, it didn't take too long to get installed. I know we're just kind of fitting some of this stuff, but there's a lot of adjustability like I talked about. This is your classic case, street strip, purposely built car. And these are some of the mods that you can upgrade into when you're not looking to upgrade horsepower, or you're trying to make the car a little bit safer and drive on the track and on the street. So this is what we put in the car: upper, lower, torque boxes, the anti-roll bars. So this will be pretty nice because you'll be able to change the radial, like the bar angles right here. And I have the adjustable ones on the axle that's coming in too. Pretty cool. Just like we talk about getting our shit off the jack stands today, well, we made some progress on the SSP coupe build. We're gonna be making a transition with the white car. We're not taking any of the engine apart, the transmission or nothing. We're just gonna be taking all the gadgets out of here and putting it in the coupe and kind of setting it up. I wanted to relate some of this stuff to your factory builds that you guys might have on your Fox body or any car for that matter. Staying motivated and staying disciplined here on the channel is something that we always talk about. So I appreciate everybody for watching. Check out neomustangs.com for our merch. We got a lot of merch going on now. If you haven't subscribed already, consider subscribing. Check out that join button, become a member of the channel today. So we got a lot of work to still do on the coupe. We'll see you soon in the next one. Appreciate you watching.